A farmer was out ploughing his field one day with his favourite donkey, and then all of a sudden, he hit something. And that something he hit turned out to be one of the greatest discoveries ever. Now, as to whether or not he was ploughing his field with his favourite donkey is a matter of contention. He may have been ploughing his field with 2 oxen, but that's not important. What we do know is that this was 1928 and it was Syria. As for this rock that he hit, basically he had 2 choices. He could go around and just plough around the rock, or he could stop, dig it up, and with the help of his trusty steed, he could move it away off the field. But either way, he thought he'd better have a look and see just exactly what kind of a task this would be. As it turned out, this wasn't just any old rock. On examination, he found that the edges were square, not like any natural object at all. So he managed to move the rock, and inside he found a vault. And this vault was full of vases, jugs, gold and silver, clay tablets, and pieces of ivory. Initial excavations revealed more tablets with inscriptions in a type of cuneiform in a language that had never been seen before. But as further excavations and digs were carried out, they found a city with fortifications, temples, and a palace. But one of the biggest surprises of all is when they discovered a scribal school and a library attached to one of the temples. The library contained a treasure trove of texts, and after deciphering, it was soon clear that what they had actually found was the ancient city of Ugarit, a city that had its beginnings back in the Neolithic at around 6,500 BCE. That's 8,500 years ago. The texts themselves date back to around 1200 BCE. And amongst these texts were documents that describe the Ugaritic religion and its rituals. But not only that, the library contained all the city's records. So there were legal and administrative documents, there were letters of correspondence, and there were economic records. In fact, there was enough information there to be able to build a clear and concise image of this ancient city and its culture. And the picture that we get is one of a prosperous sea trading post, one that was fortified and had connections with ancient Egypt, one that had a palace, and pride of place was the temple to the god Baal. Now, this temple, along with another document, which I'll get to shortly, is clearly one of the oldest, if not the oldest, reference to what we now know as the Canaanite religion. A religion that predates and directly spawned the Jewish religion, and hence all the Abrahamic religions. Amongst all the texts that were found, perhaps the most important were a set of clay tablets that describe what we now call the Baal cycle. And the Baal cycle, in a nutshell, tells us about the fight between order and chaos, and it also tells us about the constant battle between the seasons. And I've done a video of it, and I'll post a link to it up there for those of you that want to see further details. Now, this constant battle between the seasons is represented by Baal, who's the storm god, who brings life-giving rain. And Mot is the god of death, and he represents the drought and the dry season. Now the short version is that Mot, the god of death, that epitomizes the dry season and the drought, kills Baal, and Baal resides in the underworld. But Anat, Baal's sister, revives Baal, and Baal returns with a life-giving rain to defeat Mot. So this is a story very similar to the Egyptian Isis Osiris Horus story, and it tells us of the vegetation cycle, and it tells us of life, death, and rebirth. So all these gods are gods of nature, and it wasn't until much later on that God took on this identity as a supernatural deity. So I hope you've all enjoyed today's discussion about the Ugaritic texts. And if you have, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you again in another 2 weeks with another episode.